Hate groups in America are on the rise. We've seen a massive increase in the amount of hate groups in America, but along with these, we see people trying to bring peace. There are many different causes that matter to the American people. All are fighting for something, as they should. And while we all must fight for something and feel motivated in our lives to change things we dislike about our nation, we also must respect those fighting for the other side. Hate groups are not a recently occurring thing. Since the revolution of the slaves and the uprise of women in America, we have seen every type of hate group. No groups are new, but they are all growing. The Washington Post shares that the hate groups are on the rise. They have identified a new 954 groups alone since the occurrence of Charlottesville to February 22nd of this year. These organizations that, based on official statements or principles, the statements of leaders or its activities, the organizations have beliefs or practices that attack or malign an entire class of people, typically for their immutable characteristics. The Guardian shares that most of the hate groups that have developed could be categorized as neo-Nazis. These groups grew from 99 to 121 in the South. The next biggest growth in the South in hate groups is in anti-Muslims. This grew from 101 to 114. And lastly, American immigrant groups grew from 14 to 22. But most surprisingly, The Guardian actually finds that hate groups against the LGBTQ haven't grown exponentially. And although this is only a small section of our nation, if we were to take a broader picture, we could see that the rest of the nation is not far behind. Furthermore, the reason behind this rise, The Guardian claims, is our government. President Trump specifically. After the Charlottesville tragedy, Trump used his social media Twitter account to place blame on both sides, saying that white supremacists were as much to blame as the other side. And while many disagreed, some actually agreed. Along with the increase in these hate groups, there has naturally been an increase in hate crimes. The Washington Post says there were more than 6,100 reported incidents of hate crimes in 2016, up from 5,800 the year before. The FBI said in a report based on data submitted by law enforcement agencies across the country, the number of hate crimes has increased for the second consecutive year. And as was the case in 2015, the largest share of victims last year, nearly 6 to 10, were targeted because of the victim's race or ethnicity. These unfortunate victims of hate crimes that have been committed are almost always of a separate race or ethnicity than the group committing the violence. Not only has the race been a factor, but religion has become a part of it as well. Over half of the crimes committed with religious motivation have been committed by anti-Semitism groups, while only 25 have been directly targeted and target Muslims. When our citizens have to fear for their lives when they put their true selves on the internet or are seen in public by a member of a known hate group, then our society has failed. If members of our society do not feel safe expressing themselves, we as a society have failed, we have not taken into account the words of our forefathers, who wrote that all should be able to pursue happiness in whatever ways they feel appropriate or comfortable in. Hate groups have grown over the last few years, and so have hate crimes. The government takes notice of these things, but little is done. As a society, we have the power to change. We can create a more peaceful nation if we are able to accept differences and be civil to those we disagree with. The increase of hate groups in America has risen exponentially. As we all must fight for something and be motivated enough in our lives to change things that we dislike about our nation, we must also respect those fighting for the other side.